So, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is the latest Nicolas Cage movie, and in this one, Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage. And, I'm not the biggest Nicolas Cage fan, but I wasn't exactly not looking forward to this movie. I thought it would just be a fun time in the theaters. But what did I think of it? In this video, I will tell you. But before I do that, please make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, and comment down below, what did you think of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent? In this video, I'm going to tell you what I thought, but did you love it or did you find it disappointing? And with that said, let's get into this video. This film stars Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal as buddies, but when Nicolas Cage is contacted by the FBI and told that Pedro Pascal's character is a drug dealer and a mob boss, then he must team up with the CIA to try to stop him. So, this movie, I guess you can already guess by the title that I did not like it. I did not like this movie at all. This was a movie that I, again, thought that this could be a very, very fun movie, because I have not seen any of Nicolas Cage's other recent schlocky movies. So I was going into this one with an open mind. And to say that I didn't like it, it's not that I just didn't like it. It's the fact that this movie bored me. And I don't know if it was just I wasn't in the right mood, or if I just really didn't like this movie, because I just found bored by this movie and really just did not like it at all. In fact, the movie that I compare it to is last year's Without Remorse, which was a movie that cracked my bottom 10 because of how boring I found it, and that's really disappointing. Let's go ahead and get my positives out of the way, and there is barely one. There's barely one positive that I found about this movie, and that is the cast was pretty good. Nicolas Cage is pretty fun. Pedro Pascal is pretty fun. They got nice chemistry. The best part of this movie is when they get on drugs, and I know I'm a terrible person for saying that, but it was hilarious to see them driving around the city. I was laughing my head off in that sequence, and I thought that it could turn this movie around, and yet it doesn't. It doesn't fix any problems I have with this movie at all. But that's pretty much the only positive. I didn't necessarily hate that this film turned into an action film in the end. It still wasn't interesting, but it definitely was better than what we had before. And the story's not terrible. Like I said, I guess I just wasn't in the mood for this movie because, those were all of my positives. I like the cast. I like their chemistry. But the rest is just mediocre and even bad. The biggest negative I have with this movie is the fact that it is really boring. It doesn't have really anything interesting, and even the most interesting thing is that this is just a mediocre action movie. I just was not interested by any of that at all, and the story is not terrible. It's not necessarily the worst thing that they could ever make, but it's just not the most interesting thing. And I think I don't really have much to say about this movie besides that it just bored me. I don't know why. It's just not my type of movie. Comedies are my least favorite type of movie. They're funny, but they don't really have a story. But this one is also really story-laden. And when we just have this big story and then we have a comedy movie, also, it should be a really great movie, except none of it's interesting, none of the action's cool. It's just a bunch of stuff happening, and there is some points where I pointed at the screen and I was like, yeah, maybe the movie's going to change, but it never happens, and I just left this theater kind of bored, and that is just really, really sad. And here's the thing, I don't really have anything to say about this movie. It bored me. I like the cast. This movie just bored me. Instead of watching this movie, I highly recommend you go watch Paddington 2. That's a pretty fun movie. Now, it's not the greatest movie, but it's a pretty fun movie. But anyways, yeah, so that's my thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I'm going to be grateful, and I'm going to give it a C. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10, and I'm going to give it 2 stars. Normally, I would probably give this a C-, but it's got its entertainment values, and a lot of people have enjoyed this one. I guess it's just that I'm not in the right mood, or this isn't the type of movie for me, and that is really disappointing. If you're thinking about going to the theater to check out this movie this weekend, I haven't seen it yet, but I highly recommend you go see the new Doctor Strange movie, because it's a horror movie. It sounds really awesome. It's probably going to be great. There's no way that movie's going to be bad. And this one, it's not really something that I'd highly recommend you go sit through a 2-hour movie in the theaters, especially when it doesn't really have anything interesting. It reminds me of a movie my dad will just put on when he's bored, and that's not a compliment. But anyways, yes, so that is my opinions on The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or as I'm going to call it from now on, The Unbearable Weight of Disappointment. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What did you think of this film? I'd love to know all that and more, and with that said, make sure to subscribe to join the Nerd Army. Peace out.